Hi, and welcome to Come Alive with Us. Today we have Samantha Zink, and Samantha and I go way back to New York, and I'm so excited to have her on. She is an extreme girl boss with both a podcast and an influencer agency. So Samantha, I was hoping that you could maybe give a little background about, what you're doing, how you got there, and, just all of that.
Yeah, of course. So I am Samantha Zink. I'm the CEO and founder of Zink Talent. Zink Talent is a influencer management agency. We have clients across the globe from micro to macro, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. My background was not in influencer management. However, I was your typical New York PR girl. I started in 2013 when we were primarily pitching to media. Influencers were sort of coming about, but nobody would really work with them, especially in the fashion space. And the longer I was in my PR career, influencers started gaining more popularity and media was dying down. However, a lot of the PR agencies were super traditional, didn't want to hop on board. I'd always pitch the idea. And finally, after I think my fifth or sixth PR agency in 2017, 2018, I decided to really take the leap and start my own agency. When I say start my own agency, it was quite literally me, myself, and I. I do have employees now, so things have definitely rapidly evolved and changed. But I just had this belief in myself that I could start an agency with everything that I had learned from the previous agencies and working for people in cutthroat New York City. And I started my agency with a couple clients and it grew pretty rapidly with just word of mouth. And now we represent close to 60 influencers across the globe. So
that's amazing. With over 60 influencers across the globe and employees, it sounds like it's really taken off.
Yeah. And then honestly, the podcast was just, it was kind of funny because I never really thought about having a podcast. And I would let my employees are Gen Z. So they'd always ask me for advice. I'd consider myself a pretty young CEO, being 33. So I'm very close with my employees and they'd always ask me about dating and life and, just being super confused. At the age of, in your early 20s, mid 20s. And they would say, you need a podcast. You have so much insight living in New York City to LA, dating, starting a business. And I was like, wow, you're actually right, because I do have so much advice to give. And I feel like when I was in my 20s in New York, I didn't really have that big sister being like, oh, we should ask for this in work, or this is toxic, or I just sort of found my way myself. So I really want to be that voice for people who are maybe just a little bit confused in their 20s, whether that be work related or dating, but also be an inspiration for people if they want to start their own business. And then there's a lot of people that listen to my podcast who are just, simply interested in this space, influencer management. It is very popular nowadays, but it is so hush hush for people don't know the tea or what we do. So I provide people with a little bit of everything, and it's been a fun outlet. I actually saw, Dude with a Sign. I think it was Dude with a Sign or the female one. And it was fine, don't start a podcast, get a therapist. And I was like, dang, that is so spot on, because a lot of the time I'll just grab the mic and talk about life. And I'm like, this is so nice.
I love that, and what better way to be authentic than to just go for it with a podcast?
Yeah, no, it's funny. I'm like, whoa, I just talked to myself for 40 minutes in bed or on the couch, and that felt good. I hope I could touch some people. So it's a nice outlet for people, but everybody's going through something. So, the podcast doesn't always have to be about positive things. It can just be things that you went through that maybe at a time you felt like, you didn't want to tell anybody, or it was embarrassing, or I can't believe that I was that naive or young, dumb. But just talking about it helps people. And especially with the rise of TikTok, I think just being an authentic version of yourself is like the era right now. That's what's in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off with the lightning round and then we'll get into the questions. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so first and foremost, can you name a book or resource that has profoundly influenced your approach to authentic leadership?
So I have to be honest. When I started my business, I really didn't want to read books or listen to people's leadership skills because I didn't want to mimic other agencies and copy them. I wanted to really like forge my own path. But something that's really helped me start my career, and this is totally outside of it, but Gabby's books, The Universe Has Your Back. And I really lead with spirituality in my business, outside of my business. And that has helped me manifest an amazing team as well as a successful business.
She is incredible. Like I look up to her so much, love her content. So that's a great resource. So I guess that kind of leads into my second question, which would be, who is your favorite authentic leader and why?
Yeah, I love her. I don't think she's necessarily a leader, but she is a leader in her own right. She's not leading an agency. She's leading like people who are interested in changing their life, spirituality, or really turning their life into something amazing. And she was like the person that like kickstarted my spirituality journey in 2017. Such an easy book to read. All of her books are very digestible. She has easy manifestations that you can download. Listening to her TikToks or Instagram reels, or when she's on people's podcasts, you're like, you feel so motivated and you get started right away. I think she's a great place for beginners.
Yeah, that's so accurate. And I remember reading, The Universe Has Your Back, back in my 20s and then giving it to my sisters and revisiting it. It's such a classic. So that's a good pick. In one sentence, can you define what authenticity means to you in the context of leadership?
Absolutely. I would say authenticity is being yourself and remaining yourself through the entire journey. It really is just bringing everything back home. Not, just when you have a business, you can become really successful and lose sight of who you were. And I think always bringing it back to who you have always been and remaining that person no matter what outside factors change.
Yeah, that's so true because we can't control things that are outside ourselves. We can only control ourselves. So yeah. What's one daily habit that sets leaders up for success?
Oh, I would say there are so many that I like to touch on. But a daily habit that a lot of people get this confused because there's a lot of people that think that leaders or business owners don't sleep and they shouldn't sleep. And there's not enough hours in the day. Like get your 7 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
You need to be well rested to run any business or to lead anybody, anything. So I would say just make it a habit to go to bed early, wake up early, and also just adding in like a morning workout too for mental health.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, sleep is something that gets overlooked so often. And I feel like Ariana Huffington and that whole movement has kind of helped people to realize, okay, we need this, but still, so that's a great example. How do you lead by example to positively impact your organization? Going into the next question.
So just a learning curve too, and just something I had dealt with when I worked for people is, trying to figure out that work-life balance. So I really want to make a positive change because so many of us really just work our lives away and we wish for the weekend. So when I started my agency, I really wanted to provide people working for me with something that brought them passion and fulfillment. So they weren't excited for Friday to come and they weren't dreading for Monday to come. I wanted to create something that brought them purpose and happiness. And so they're excited to work and they're not so separating work and their life. It's sort of like mixing together.
And how do you do that?
Girl, it has been a journey. I think just giving people, when I worked for people, there was like such a hierarchy of you start at the very, very like the lowest point of the company and you have to prove yourself. You run errands and you do all of, this work that makes no sense. Or if you're an intern, you're like, what did I learn? I have people come into my agency at all levels and have a huge say in my agency's growth and us evolving, but they also are doing pretty serious work. I don't hire people that can't do the work. So if you prove yourself that you are an asset and a superstar, you come in, I don't care if you're right out of college, you're going to be doing some serious work, which therefore provides them with fulfillment and passion. The living for that, I have unlimited pay time off because they say, hey, take the time off. If you're on a flight or you're traveling the world, this is how you can work from your phone. This is how you can work from your laptop. So you're not glued to your laptop 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. You sort of learn how to live your life, but also work. So I think the best way is for me to just show them the best that I can. So they realize like, hey, I could take that flight and just hop on the Wi-Fi, or I can travel the world and not need to take time off. I can do both.
Right. No, that's nice to have that flexibility and that freedom to feel like, you can have those days, you can take that time. I guess another question to that is, how does proper delegation aid someone in becoming a better leader?
So you're saying about me delegating work to people?
Like on the flip side, like, you're giving them time off and all of that, but then also how does delegation like help you and help them as well, if done in the proper way?
So a big thing that I've realized is know your employees' workload. You don't want to give them so much that they're stressed out. It's unattainable. They're going to underdeliver. So whenever I'm giving them clients or workload or asking them to do something, I take a look at what they have on their plate. And, if it's too much, maybe I'll give it to a different agent. I just am always aware of what they have on their plate, because when I worked for people, I was always overworked and underpaid. And so I never want my employees to be working till 9 p.m. and stressed out and under delivering, because that's reflected in their performance. And that's also reflected in what our client sees. So it's just not successful behavior. Also in delegating work, I make sure that outside of being an agent in the company, I call it their creative outlet. So they get to also do things in the agency, take on a role that they love. Obviously, they're an agent, so they are marketing our influencers to brands. But then maybe they do our social media. Maybe they handle my podcast. Maybe they do accounting. They basically do some people like accounting, believe it or not. They do another role in the agency that brings them happiness, their creative outlet outside of, pitching and working on collaborations.
I think that's so important and crucial to have those conversations and be in communication with your employees to be like, what do you enjoy? Not only, what are you working on, but what do you want more exposure to? And fortunately, in this kind of startup environment that we're both in, we're able to have that flexibility. And because of our experiences, we know what it's like to be just bombarded and not have any of that time to really pursue things that you enjoy. So I think that that's really crucial and so important that you're doing for them. And that kind of leads me into another question, which is, why is it important to foster a positive work environment?
It's important to foster a positive work environment because if you do not, then you're going to consistently have to rehire, retrain. You're going to have a bad reputation. However, if you treat your employees like family and you have patience and you lead with kindness and empathy, then you will create a family, people that work with you long term. So for me, it's important to have these people around for years, never leave, and to really grow the agency that way instead of having high turnover and constantly rehiring and retraining. There is nothing more stressful or time consuming. I don't care if they have experience. They can have experience in the same industry. Every agency is so vastly different that just because you have experience and you come to my agency from another agency doesn't mean I don't have to retrain you and take all of that time. So if you're positive with your employees and you treat them well and you take care of them, really take care of them, they'll stick around. They won't leave. And then you're building a team. And also your clients are like, oh, well, I've known these people for years.
Exactly.
It's a good reflection of your agency and reputation.
Yeah, no, totally. That's right on. What are two immediate actual steps that listeners can take to infuse authenticity into their leadership style right away?
I would say a big step is to not, you don't have to be the boss all the time.
Mm.
You know, I am the boss, but I'm also the friend. I had one of my employees today tell me, and she's a new hire, but she's comfortable with me that she's like, by the way, Samantha, you know how everyone was eating the grapes under the table to manifest a boyfriend? She's like, the grapes are working. I just went, I had an amazing date this weekend, and she about her personal life. So
Yeah.
not just, she doesn't fear me. She doesn't only come to me with work stuff. It's just being an authentic leader is like, I have a connection with them outside of the work because that's what they want. People want connection, especially remote companies. Now we're remote, so we don't get to see each other all the time. It's important that we can talk to each other outside of just, hey, I have a question about this, or I have this. It's like, how are you genuinely doing? And they won't be afraid to come to you with any issues or ideas for change. Because if they're unhappy and they have a connection with me, they're more likely to tell me like, hey, I think we could do better at this. This makes me feel uncomfortable. Maybe you could change this about your leadership style. So that's one thing, is just having a relationship. Obviously, there's a fine line. So be careful with that.
Yeah.
Lost a lot. But another thing too is to just always be like, lead with empathy and kindness. When I was in PR, my bosses were quite literally the devil wears Prada, and I'm pretty sure they were so excited about treating us poorly. Like it made them happy old women. But if you lead with kindness and empathy, what could go wrong? Everything will go right. So I feel like the most successful leaders really have that sort of style of leadership.
Exactly. You want to have that connection and that camaraderie and just make them feel like, they can come to you with the good, with the bad. And I can relate to you and your experience of your old managers. And that's tough. So, but at least it helps you to forge a different path and really create a more inclusive environment for your current employees. So what specific traits must leaders embody to differentiate themselves, would you say?
I would say it's kind of funny because I was always a leader and I had these traits, but I never knew it when I worked for people. I always had ideas. I was constantly speaking up in the agency when I worked for people, not knowing that these were leadership skills back then, but I always had fresh ideas and I was so passionate about my work. So I think just always having ideas and being excited and passionate about what you're doing, being obsessed. I am obsessed with Zink talent. I tell my boyfriend, I tell my family, my friends, like Zink talent is at the top. And you have to understand that to be around me or be with me or be associated with me, because I don't care how many years pass, like this company brings me fulfillment, passion, everything. I'm obsessed with it. I've always been obsessed with it. Obsession is the key to success. So a lot of leaders are obsessed with their craft, with what they do. Like quite literally, I'll work all night. I'll work weekends. I don't care. I'm going to be successful. Another thing too is confidence. I lead with confidence. I embody confidence. Did I have this in my 20s? Absolutely not. It's come with age. It's come with experience. But I'm confident with everything I do in this company. I make decisions like that. I don't lead with emotion. So a lot of business owners do fail because something happens and they get all emotional about it or they let negativity in. I sit with it. How can I fix this and move forward to make sure it doesn't happen again? I have that quick thinking skill, and I don't even let emotion come like in the door.
Did you do that in the past, or have you always been kind of a person that, doesn't lead with emotion?
I would say when I worked for people, I definitely had a lot of emotions. I cried in the office a few times for sure. But when you become a leader and you have a lot to lose, I almost think it's like becoming like the president of the United States, right? Like, and they say women can't be presidents because they're so emotional. Some of us really are. But when I became a leader, it was a lot of things that I just intuitively knew that I needed to leave in the past and I needed to move forward with a certain way of thinking and a certain way of acting and reacting. So I have way more to lose. And there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. And now it's like I have employees that I'm responsible for and I have clients I'm responsible for. So when you have all of this responsibility, you really have no choice but to change who you are as a person.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. It's like becoming a mother for the first time. You don't know what you're doing and you're not ready. And then you birth the child and you're like, we're going to figure it out. And we have yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. I always stated this as, like my baby. And I know you feel the same way. And it's like you're just watching it grow. It's in its infancy and then it's moving forward and forward. And it's something that, you're so passionate about, like you said, being obsessed and just having those traits. I think that's really important. You kind of talked about this already, but can you share a specific challenge or obstacle that how you navigated that as a leader and, something that you went through? I guess maybe the examples of, the management that you had before, or if you have something else that maybe people can relate to, because it sounds like you've been through a lot, but you've risen above and you've really done such an amazing job for yourself. How did you go about that? And, what got you to navigate that challenge?
Yeah, I would say a challenge I've had is growing pains with the agency. I call them growing pains because when I started, again, it was myself and a couple clients. Things evolve, things get bigger, but nothing prepares you for having a full agency with employees, with a ton of clients. And so figuring out how to navigate that has always been a challenge. It will always be a challenge.
Yeah.
The bigger I get, like I have to figure it out. You have to get more people involved. You have to hire more. You have to have more people with management experience because I can't be looking after everybody forever. Eventually, I'm going to have to get married and have children. And I can't be as involved in the agency as I am, even though I would love to be. It's just that's not how life works. So a challenge is just growing pains, learning for me to let go, delegate work more, finding more leaders to come into the agency and help me fill that void. So that I'm not working till I die. And then also just learning how to handle people. So there's a lot of strong personalities in this industry, and them coming to work with me, being my employees, I have to learn how to just handle their emotions.
Yeah.
If they're stressed out, if they're bugging out, if they have mental health issues or whatever it may be, you need to challenge. And this is for anybody who has an agency or employees, is learning how to deal with people.
Yeah.
It's not easy. And, when I was in my 20s, definitely not easy. 33, I'm still figuring it out. Yeah. The best that you can do is listen and learn and just, again, lead with empathy and kindness. It's hard.
We're at the core of everything. Exactly.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of emotions, strong personalities. You have to keep things fair. It's also if you have 6 children on Christmas and you have to spend the same money on each of them to make sure everything is fair. I working with people is a challenge in itself, but the best thing that you can do is, maybe talk to other leaders, see what they do. For me, the best thing is for that, taking it year by year, month by month, and just learning what works. And I learned from my own choices. And not everything has worked. And I've needed to work on things, and I continue to do so.
Well, and that's important, right? We're going to figure out through trial and error what works, what doesn't work. And there's no way to predict that except by acting and doing and just going for it.
Yeah, no, it's a beast. I'm I didn't get my bosses that have, they weren't the best back then. That's a whole different story. But I'm it's hard dealing with employees because you have to take care of people. Everybody's so different and their needs are different. Their love languages are different. So just sort of navigating that and making sure everybody's happy at all times and things are fair.
I love that though. And I love your focus and emphasis on your employees and just making it such a positive environment. I think you're doing a great job and they're lucky to have you. So with that, is there any additional advice that you would give to listeners, or anything you'd like to share that's coming up for you?
So advice for listeners, number one, I would say that, if you want to start a business or you want to start a brand or start something for yourself, there's never the right time. I was definitely not ready when I took my leap of faith and started Zing Talent. It was as a side hustle with a 9 to 5 security blanket job, but no one's ever ready. And so remove those limiting beliefs of I don't have enough money, I don't have enough experience, and then just go for it. Follow your dreams. High risk equals high reward. No risk, no magic. So if there's something in sparking inside of you to do something, just go and do it. And I promise you, it's okay to fail. It's okay to go through the journey. You're not going to make it right away. It's going to be this beautiful experience. But the only thing that you can do is the action portion. Don't wait around dreaming because somebody else is going to do it before you, or it's not, you're going to sit in comfort and then live a mediocre life. So there's that. I always like to give that. Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. And then what's new for me is I'm not really sharing this with anybody until it comes out. But with these interviews, I like to just share with your specific listeners. But I am writing a book with Forbes, which is so exciting. And it comes out October.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah, it's this whole, it takes so long, a year and a half, which is crazy. But October, it will come out, which really talks about my whole experience, starting a business, spirituality. It's a memoir, if you will. So definitely go get it. The title is interesting. I'm going back and forth with them on the title. It's one of those things where but that's to come in the fall. And I'm so, so excited about that. And it's going to be amazing.
Congratulations again. That is just massive. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. And that's about it. I'm just, actually, I feel like 2024 is the year of leaving your old life behind and starting your new life. And you and I think are the same age, but also I feel like I'm coming into adulthood this year, quote unquote, you know what I mean? I feel like this is the year where it's next chapter. So I'm doing big things with the agency, personal life, just exciting things to come.
Yes, that is amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be, I feel like, the best year yet. And I've never said that. Everyone's this is my year. That's the energy I'm getting with 2024.
I'm getting that energy too. I think we need it. I think it's going to happen.
People coast. You can't feel that every single year. But you actually get that intuitive feeling 1 year where everything changes,
Exactly. Well, congratulations on that. And thank you so much for your time. This has been invaluable. And I know that everyone's going to be really excited to hear what you have to say.
Amazing. Well, thank you for having me. It's nice catching up and talking business.